This is LibreQuest, and my name is Matt. The date is 30th of September 2019. Thank you for listening today, or watching if you're watching on YouTube or you found the video on LibreQuest.org. The Pine Time. Pine 64 is making a $25 Linux smartwatch. If you think it's about time we had an open source Linux smartwatch, Pine 64 is set to offer just that for a mere $25. This article is written by Matthew Humphreys. It was published on September 16, 2019 on PCMag.com. If you like to wear a smartwatch every day but can't stomach paying hundreds of dollars to purchase one, don't worry. There's soon going to be a $25 option. As Lily Pudding reports, Pine 64, the company behind the forthcoming Pinebook Pro Linux laptop, the PineTab Linux tablet, and the PinePhone Linux smartphone, is also promising to make a PineTime Linux smartwatch. It will be offered for the incredibly low price of $25, which also gets you a charging dock, a 20mm wristband, and a multi-day battery life. If you're interested in reading more about that article, that's on PCMag.com. Pine 64 is making a $25 smartwatch. Lockdown. Let's see here. ZDNet.com article. This article written by Caitlin Kempanu, I do believe. Caitlin Kempanu. Written for 0 Day, it says. Published on September 29 of 2019. After years of countless reviews, discussions, and code rewrites, Linus Torvalds approved on Saturday a new security feature for the Linux kernel named Lockdown. The feature will ship as a LSM, Linux Security Module, in the soon-to-be-released Linux kernel 5.4 branch, where it will be turned off by default, usage being optional due to the risk of breaking existing systems. Putting a leash on the root account. The new feature's primary function will be to strengthen the divide between userland processes and kernel code by preventing even the root account from interacting with the kernel code, something that has been able to do by design until now. And I do believe that's a typo. Something that it's been able to do by design until now, possibly not been able to do. I have no idea. That sentence just is slightly confusing to me. Seems to contradict the story. I'm not sure. When enabled, the new lockdown feature will restrict some kernel functionality even for the root user, making it harder for compromised root accounts to compromise the rest of the OS. You can read the rest of that article over on ZDNet, and that is Linux to get kernel lockdown feature. Edge for Linux. This is a joyous story. Boy, let's see here. Basically, the MS Edge dev team are asking for Linux users and developers to test and give their ideas on bringing the Microsoft Edge browser to Linux. And the article says we're on the @MS Edge dev team. I'm sorry. I misread that sentence. Let me try that one more time. I do apologize. We on the @MS Edge dev team are fleshing out requirements to bring Edge to Linux, and we need your help with some assumptions, wrote Sean Larkin, a member of the Microsoft Edge team. If you're a dev who depends on Linux for dev, testing, personal browsing, please take a second to fill out this survey, he added. Chrome, of course, is already available for Linux, so Microsoft should be able to deliver Chromium-based Edge to Linux distributions with minimal fuss. So, yes, that is probably true. Well, if you're one of those people that look forward to the Edge browser on Linux, then I guess that is a good article for you to hear. I think the rest of that article is over on ZDNet, and the title was bringing the Edge browser to Linux. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly who's completely enthusiastic about that, but there's probably it may be you. Is it you? I don't know. Could be. So recently I ran into an issue. I run into issues often, and then I get to solve those issues. So I talked about in episode 1 that I purchased a an AT form factor case. The problem was that I could not find a SATA CD and DVD burner combo drive that had the right color of a faceplate. So basically, I'm just going to talk through exactly what I did to resolve this issue. So on the back side of a CD-ROM drive, there's some little tabs. There's, there could be 2, 3, 4, but those little tabs, they should have an opening on the back and sides where you can use a screwdriver or a just something small that's going to fit in there to push those tabs out, and that's going to release that faceplate on the CD-ROM drive. Now there's several different kinds of tray covers. Like some of them are attached to the tray, some of them kind of fold down. Those it just depends on what your drive looks like, but that will kind of affect how it's going to come apart. Now the drive that I have had the tray cover actually attached to the tray, so turning the CD-ROM drive over and adding a little bit of pressure, I was able to just slide that right off the end of the tray. And so before I even started sanding the faceplate on this, I cleaned it with alcohol just to make sure there was nothing on there that I didn't want on there. And then I was able to start the sanding process for the faceplate and the tray cover. So I used a 320 grit sanding block, and I just lightly sanded the tray cover and the faceplate for the DVD drive. And I wasn't really trying to remove the surface. I was just trying to rough it up just enough to where I knew that paint was going to stick. So when I was actually looking for the right color that I wanted to use, I just took the floppy disk drive bay cover with me to the store, and I actually matched that as best I could. And the color that matched the very best with the case color was actually an ivory color. So that's the color that I ended up going with. So after I finished the sanding on those faceplates, I cleaned them again with the alcohol just to remove all that freshly sanded plastic off of the faceplate. And then I started the actual painting process. Now, when I paint with a spray paint, I like to do very, very light coats. I usually just do 1, 2, 3, 3 really quick coats, and then I'll let that dry. And then whatever it is I'm painting, I'll take that, I'll rotate it around, do a few more stripes of paint on there. I don't want it very thick, I don't. The last thing you want when you're painting something is for that paint to kind of bubble up and run, because then that's going to dry that way, and it's not going to look right. It's not going to look right having it look like the paint's constantly running. So just turning the object around, and it's a lot easier than trying to turn yourself around when you're painting something. So anyway, after I got that painted and I let it dry for a period of time, it just snapped right back into the CD drive housing there, and I was able to just snap the tray cover back on, and it was ready to go. Now, one thing that I did overlook, and I don't know why I overlooked this, but I did, was the indicator light for the CD drive or DVD drive activity, and I'm not sure why I overlooked it. So I ended up having to use a small flathead screwdriver to kind of remove some of that paint that I'd gotten on there, and it looks okay. It's in the system now, and when it's writing or reading it, that indicator light is very bright, and I can still see it through there. So if you do end up painting a component that has an indicator light, if it doesn't have a little hole in it or a little notch where that light shines through, then you're probably going to have to either use a very small piece of masking tape or put some kind of oil or something on there, or grease, or just something that can be easily wiped away after the paint has dried on it. That probably what I should have done on that. But yeah, that's pretty much all that this video is going to be, just talking about the prepping the paint surface for that CD drive. I keep calling it a CD drive. It's a CD DVD combo drive. So Anyway, I realized something that I missed, that I didn't know that I missed, when I was adding the rails on the sides of that DVD drive. And if you've ever worked with like an older computer build, they would usually come with a little rail, and that rail would have several different notches where you could decide how far out whatever you're going to be putting into the case, how far out that was going to stick out from the case, and that was so that you could match the depth of the actual front of the case cover. And so it's just such a great system. I don't know why that isn't still the standard today. It's just so easy because when you have those little rails in there, it literally just slides into place and clicks, and then you just take your hand and squeeze those rails on either side, and you can slide that drive right back out with no problem. It's just so easy to work with, and things in cases, it's just strange, the mounting that's used a lot of times. And I know it varies from case to case, but for the majority of stuff, you don't, unless you're using like hot swappable or something like that, or something that comes with a caddy, then you're probably going to be sliding those drives in and having to put mounting screws into them. And that tray system, or the rail system, is just like, man, that was good stuff. And something else is the mounting of motherboards. You used to have options. You could use a metal mount if you wanted to, or a screw, but you also had the option in some of the older cases to just push a plastic tab up through the bottom, and you just snap your motherboard right onto those plastic tabs, and that was really cool. I don't know, it was such a good thing, because oftentimes when you would go to change out your motherboard, one of those was just absolutely not going to let go, and it ended up breaking off, and then you might leave it in, you might change it out if you had a spare. If you didn't, then you would have a plastic mount in there with no way to actually hold the board down. So that was probably not the best design on that. But anyway, LibreQuest.org, you can download this podcast, watch the video. I have a Subscribe Star, a Patreon if you're interested in that sort of thing. On the Subscribe Star, I do a raffle giveaway. I was going to announce, I had a bit of a constraint today on the time that I had to do this show, and I apologize for that, because I really wanted to decide on what cool thing I was thinking about raffling off. But Subscribe Star is for the raffle, if you're interested in that. Patreon is just if you just like to be supportive. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out over on LibreQuest.org. The actual audio version is on archive.org, and the video version of the podcast is over on YouTube. Thanks again for being here this evening, or morning, or night, or whenever it might be. My name's Matt, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Thanks.